The Forge of Discipline by Blacksmith of Metal and Mind, Bryton Peterson. Why does spiritual growth feel so painful when I'm trying to change for the better? How can I stay strong when life's trials feel like fire that's burning me down instead of refining me? What can I do when daily discipline feels exhausting and I'm not seeing any results yet? When you step into a blacksmith shop, you notice right away that nothing beautiful is made without fire. The forge roars, the metal glows, every swing of the hammer rings with purpose. But if you've ever watched closely, you know the process is uncomfortable for both the metal and the smith. The iron doesn't choose how many blows it takes. It doesn't get to stay cold and comfortable. It must pass through the heat again and again before it reaches its final form. Self-mastery works the same way. We start as raw material, good but unrefined. Our potential isn't yet useful until we're willing to face the fire of discipline. The forge is the testing ground, the place where our hearts and habits are heated until they're soft enough to change. That fire is the strain of growth, the stretching that comes before progress. It's the discomfort we feel when we start living by our values instead of by our impulses. Every time we resist the pull of an old habit, every time we choose courage over comfort, the heat rises a little, preparing us for the hammer that gives us form. The fire, embracing discomfort. The fire of the forge isn't meant to destroy, it's meant to prepare. It softens what's rigid and makes the metal workable. Likewise, discomfort isn't punishment, it's preparation. The heat we feel in our trials or spiritual battles isn't there to consume us, but to ready us for transformation. Discipline begins when we stop avoiding the heat and start trusting its purpose. Stepping into the forge isn't about doing more, it's about staying willing while the heat builds. When trials press in and the temperature rises, our task is simply to remain in the fire long enough to let it soften us. Then, when the moment comes to act, to pray even when we don't feel like it, to choose honesty over convenience, that's when the hammer meets the softened metal and real change begins. God doesn't send the heat to hurt us. He sends it to make us pliable enough to change. The danger of staying in the fire. But there's another truth every smith learns early on. You can't stay in the fire forever. A forge's heat can easily exceed the melting point of steel, well over 2,700 degrees Fahrenheit. A well-fed coke forge can surpass 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, more than enough to melt the strongest steel if left unattended. If steel lingers too long in that intensity without being shaped, it begins to degrade. The carbon that gives it strength, the very element that makes it resilient and sharp, starts to burn away. What was once strong becomes brittle and weak. Spiritually, we do the same thing when we endure the heat of life's trials, but refuse to let God shape us through them. We may sit in the discomfort, but if we resist the hammer, the lessons, the accountability, the actions that turn experience into growth, we begin to lose our strength. We can't avoid the fire, but we can choose whether it purifies or depletes us. The difference lies in our willingness to be shaped. The hammer, painful as it may be, is what keeps us from losing the very carbon of our character. The hammer, repetition and refinement. Once the metal is hot, the hammer comes next. Inexperienced smiths swing wildly, hoping one big blow will get the job done. But real shaping happens through steady rhythm, strike after strike after strike. Our habits are no different. Change doesn't happen through one grand moment of resolve. It's the steady rhythm of daily practice, of choosing again and again who we want to be. Every time you complete your border patrol, a system of spiritual practice and protection, or finish a DPAR, a reflective self-mastery tool, or resist that intrusive thought, you're adding shape to your character. And yes, the blows hurt sometimes. Progress can be loud, tiring, and repetitive, but those very repetitions are what give your life form and symmetry. The anvil, foundation, rebound, and truth. No blacksmith can shape metal in mid-air. Every strike needs an anvil, not just as a surface to hit against, but as an active partner in the work. A good anvil doesn't merely absorb the hammer's blow, it returns it. A quality anvil gives back almost all the energy it receives, so the smith is shaping from both the top and the bottom at once. The hammer falls, the anvil pushes back, and the metal yields between them. The anvil doesn't fight the hammer, it partners with it, it multiplies your effort. It doesn't remove the impact, it refines it. It gives every hit meaning. In self-mastery, our anvil is truth, the foundation of our values, our covenants, and our relationship with God. When life hits hard, truth doesn't just hold us steady, it gives the blow purpose. It turns pain into progress. Without that rebound, every strike is wasted energy, exhausting but unproductive. When we anchor ourselves in divine truth, every challenge, every hammer blow shapes both the visible and hidden parts of our soul. The Spirit adds rebound to our effort, returning strength when we would otherwise run out. It's not the number of blows that matters, it's whether you're striking against something true. The shaping. Over time, the raw bar takes form. The blows that once felt random begin to make sense. The smith sees what the metal cannot: a sword, a tool, a purpose waiting to emerge. If you've ever forged before, you know that as the hammer falls, flakes of scale, thin layers of oxidized iron that form whenever hot steel meets oxygen, break away and scatter. They're the byproduct of heat and impact. They aren't the metal itself, just what the fire drew to the surface. The more the smith works the steel, the more those brittle layers fall away, revealing the cleaner, truer surface beneath. It's the same in us. As we endure the heat and the hammer, parts of us that don't belong, pride, fear, shame, old habits, begin to flake off. They aren't our essence. They're just residue from exposure to a fallen world. The shaping process doesn't destroy who we are, it reveals who we've been all along. We are both the metal being shaped and, in smaller ways, the apprentice smith, learning to work under the master's guidance. So the next time you feel the heat of a challenge or the impact of life's hammer, don't assume you're being punished. You're being forged. Every spark, every flake of scale is a sign that something sacred is happening. That what doesn't belong is being removed, and what is strong and true is being revealed. Keep showing up to the forge. Keep trusting the process. The discipline you practice today is the edge you'll carry into tomorrow's battles.